Nurse Alina was fired on the spot for taking time to help a confused elderly man back to his room, wasting time in the eyes of her supervisor. What she didn't know, the frail man in slippers was actually the secret owner of the hospital, and he never forgot kindness. What happens next? Let's start the story. Alina Santos never expected her entire life to unravel in the span of 15 minutes. She had just finished a grueling 12-hour shift at Westbridge Medical Center, her feet aching, her scrubs wrinkled, and her mind foggy from tending to patients nonstop. For 3 years, she had worked in the surgical recovery ward with quiet diligence, never missing a shift, never complaining, always staying late to chart vitals or comfort a scared patient. Her dream had always been simple: to serve others, to bring compassion into the cold machinery of modern healthcare. But that evening, just as she was about to clock out, she heard a soft voice calling down the hallway. "Miss, excuse me." Alina turned to see an elderly man, thin, frail, wearing a hospital gown and mismatched slippers, standing confused near the elevators. He was trembling slightly, holding onto the railing with one hand. She recognized him as Mr. Harris, a quiet patient in his 80s who'd been admitted 3 days earlier, reportedly for observation after a fall. "Are you lost, sir?" she asked gently, approaching him. I was trying to find my room," he whispered. "Everything looks the same to me here." Without hesitation, Alina looped her arm through his and smiled warmly. "Let's find it together." For the next 10 minutes, she walked slowly beside him, chatting gently to ease his nerves. She learned he had no children, that he used to run a small manufacturing company, and that he'd been living alone since his wife passed away 5 years ago. By the time they reached his room, he was visibly calmer. She helped him settle back in bed, adjusted his blankets, and placed the call button within reach. "Thank you, young lady," he said softly, with watery eyes. "You didn't have to do that." "It was my pleasure, Mr. Harris," she said. But as she exited the room, she was met with a sharp voice and cold eyes. "Santos, in my office." Now, it was Deborah Lang, the unit supervisor, an infamous stickler for protocol who valued efficiency over empathy. Inside the office, Deborah shut the door and tossed a clipboard on the desk. "Do you think you're above hospital policy?" Alina blinked. "Ma'am, you were scheduled to clock out at 7 p.m. You were found on the 4th floor, unauthorized, engaging with a patient outside your shift boundaries." "I was helping Mr. Harris back to his room. He was lost and disoriented." "That's not your concern. You're not assigned to him. Liability issues, time theft. Do I need to explain this further?" "He could have fallen," Alina said, voice wavering. "He needed someone. Then security should have been called. We don't pay you to play Florence Nightingale. You're done here." Alina stared in shock. "Are you firing me?" Deborah didn't even blink. "You can collect your belongings. HR will send a formal letter." Stunned, heart pounding, Alina gathered her things in silence. No one spoke as she passed through the ward. Some nurses glanced away awkwardly. Others offered apologetic looks, but didn't dare speak up. Within an hour, she was out the door. Jobless, humiliated, all for helping someone in need. For the next 2 weeks, Alina drifted through her small apartment in disbelief, applying for jobs and questioning everything. She considered switching careers altogether. Until, one quiet morning, there was a knock at her door. A courier handed her a white envelope with no return address. Inside was a gold-trimmed invitation card and a brief note. "Miss Santos, you may not remember me, but I remember you. Please attend a private luncheon this Friday, 12 p.m., Westbridge Manor, 108 Greenvale Hill. Warmly, Franklin H." Puzzled but intrigued, she arrived that Friday at a sprawling estate on the edge of town. The gates opened automatically. A butler welcomed her in. Inside the grand dining room, seated at the head of the table, was none other than Mr. Harris, clean-shaven, alert, and dressed in an impeccable navy suit. She gasped, "Mr. Harris?" He grinned. "You called me that. But the truth is, my name is Franklin Harris, founder and majority owner of Westbridge Medical Group." She stood frozen. "The hospital?" "Yes. I built it 40 years ago. My son manages the company now, and I often check in anonymously. I pretend to be a patient every year. I like to see how people treat those they think are powerless." He leaned forward. "And you were the only one who stopped for me. Not for money, not for recognition, just kindness." Alina's voice cracked. "I lost my job because of that." "I know," he said calmly, "and I've taken care of it. Deborah Lang is no longer employed at any of our facilities. She forgot what medicine is supposed to be." Her eyes widened. "You fired her?" "We offered her the same courtesy she gave you," he replied with a twinkle. "Effective immediately." He stood, walked over, and gently handed her a new badge. It read, "Alina Santos, Director of Patient Advocacy. A new position," he said, "created because of you. You'll train staff across all our hospitals to remember what compassion looks like. You'll be the voice patients don't always have." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "Why me?" "Because you showed me that one act of care can change a life. Now you'll change thousands." That moment marked the beginning of a new journey. Alina didn't just get her job back. She became a leader, a reformer, a force for empathy in a system that had forgotten it. And every year, on that same week in October, Mr. Harris would show up at one of the hospitals, sometimes as a frail old man, sometimes just as himself, and watch how staff treated the smallest voices. With Alina's influence, kindness was no longer an exception. It became the rule.